Greetings, Minecrafters, and welcome to another Minecraft discussion. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am very, very happy to be here today and also to continue our discussion on self-love deficit. It's like a little mini-series. I didn't really plan that, but there's just a lot to say about it, and I think it's nice when it's in, snack size bits, kind of like Halloween. You get a little baby Ruth or a little Snickers, and just enough. And then that kind of leads to the next one. Yeah, okay, so we're talking about having self-love deficit. Remember, we stayed away from the word disorder. Why? Because it's a shame word, and shame words are dumb because they make us feel flawed, or these words imply and lead us into feeling that we are flawed, defective, damaged goods, broken in some way. And so if somebody is dealing with any kind of quote-unquote disorder, attention deficit, bipolar, whatever disorder, if it isn't already enough to be challenged with whatever it is, now we got the word disorder to contend with, and just inherently has us feeling like we're less than everybody else, which is just plain stupid. Okay, so we're not going to say that. Self-love deficit, which typically came from childhood and not having our own value mirrored for us by the trusted grown-ups in our life and our uniqueness and all the wonderful things about us and stuff. Or it might have been mirrored but not consistently or not enough or whatever. And it led to having like this sort of gaping hole of self-love, right? Which is kind of just got clouded over by all this other stuff. So we already talked about those first two. If you want to review those, you want to go back and look at the first two. So I don't want to bore anybody to tears who already watched the first two. So we're going to keep moving on and talking about the self-love deficit as leading us into not only looking for love in all the wrong places, which is codependency, right? We're talking about the people-pleasing and the rescuing, all that external approval seeking and affirmation seeking and tell me I'm okay and tell me how to earn your love and all that stuff. It's all really codependent behavior, also really common. So the idea is to explain and describe and not shame anybody. That would sort of be contrary to what we're trying to do here, right? So it's just explaining that codependency comes from a place of woundedness, usually from childhood, early on. So looking for love in all the wrong places, very codependent usually, and also looking for love in all the wrong ways. This is really important too. A lot of people don't understand about love languages, and Gary Chapman wrote a book a long time ago on, I think, the 5 love languages. And so it's important to know these, and you can have more than one. It's just like being right-handed or left-handed, though. Usually there's a dominant one. And so the very first one is the person who feels love. So often the way you feel the most love is often the way you express love, too. So here's the trick. If it's with a partner, they might have one, probably will have one dominant language. It isn't maybe the same as yours is out of the 5. So that's why it's also really good to have this awareness. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a romantic thing. Like, this is how you express love. And so the first one is words of affirmation. Just lots of, you look fabulous today. Wow. Did you, have me feeling good with that surprise you did, whatever. Just, wow, you were so incredibly thoughtful. Lots of words of affirmation. And thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing that. And this nice positive character trait or whatever. The second one is acts of service. This is the action person. This is actions speak louder than words person. So this actually makes me laugh because this is my husband. He knows that. I'll say, oh, I'm feeling so loved. There are so many examples of this, but it had to be 20 years ago. 15, 20 years ago. I was on my way to the Bahamas with the little one, maybe 15 years ago. And I went into the car, the Jeep, to get something. And there, all typed up, were the directions, how to get there, clean socks. He put all this stuff in my suitcase. Also, when he goes out and fills up my car, the Jeep, with windshield fluid, and the occasional oil change. And I don't even ask him. When he comes in, he's like, oh, need a pint. And he's just such an action guy. And then, in fact, this morning, can't make this stuff. I couldn't plan it better. He got up early because it was really, really cold and got the fires going before he left for work. After he drove to New York and back yesterday to bring our youngest, back to college, which made it even more thoughtful. But he is such an action guy. His love language is absolutely acts of service. And so that's how I know he's loving me. That's my Romeo. Clean socks and oil change. Yeah, that's my Romeo right there. So, and then we have the gift giver receiver. So remember how you sort of feel the most love is often how you'll do it back. All right. Now we can learn once we're aware of these. We can obviously, since like I know my husband's an action speaks louder than words person, so that's why. And I tell him, oh wow, I feel loved. You put clean socks in my suitcase. I feel, thank you for starting the fires. Thank you for, and that is absolutely the way he expresses love. And but then you can know that and you can work with it once you're, if you are partners. So the gift giver receiver, and this is not necessarily about materialism. It's about the thoughtfulness behind the materialism. So coming home with flowers, coming home with something that's maybe part of, maybe your partner or friend has a hobby and you saw whatever it is they do, if they build planes, and you found this, at a yard sale, and they had this box unopened. It was $1, and you brought it home because your partner or friend, was like really into World War II aircraft, whatever. And it's the thoughtfulness behind it. Or coming home with, takeout to give them a break from cooking, which is also an action, I guess. But this is really more about a tangible something, not necessarily like the oil change. There's nothing to hold or touch from that. It's just done, right? But the gift thing, and it's the thoughtfulness behind it, not necessarily Tiffany's jewelry, is what I'm saying. Okay, and then we have quality time. So this is remember, you can have more than one. It's just one's going to probably dominate over the rest. The quality time thing is they want to be the center of your universe, not in a narcissistic way either. Just and this could often be the introverts, but doesn't have to be, because they have their batteries charged. By quieter with one person or just by themselves or whatever, but it doesn't have to be, not at all. So like that dinner for two, no screens on, meaning nothing, no televisions, no phones, off, walk in the woods, and that's their dominant one. That's a dominant one. So remember, how you receive it is often how you also give it back. And then we have the physical affection. It's very important to realize this does not necessarily mean sexual. It can just be this person feels the most loved when they are touched. It can be they just come in from waitressing all day and they would love their back rubbed. And I don't mean in a sexual way. It might even be roommates or something, but or neck rubbed, or any, and hugging, other than the actual sexual stuff, holding hands, snuggling on the couch. Just lots of different types of touching. And this is when they feel the most loved. And here's the thing that's the trick. Okay, so as far as the self-love deficit crew, here's where it can add to it. Because if you're already not feeling worthy of love, not feeling loved, and if you don't have the awareness of your own love language and the love language of those of others, you might be barking up the wrong tree. Okay, because if you really have that need for physical affection, and you're the person you're sort of seeking out has an entirely different love language from you, and you're not aware that that's your main love language, and they're not touching you, they're not holding your hand, you're like, what's the matter with me? And think about all that dialogue. What's the matter with me? They're not touching me. What's the matter with me? They don't even want to hold my hand. And then you're like, that's confirming what you already believe to be true, which is that you're not valuable. Okay, when that isn't even it, it's just a disconnect, because they don't get that's your love language, and you don't get that theirs is action, or they're a gift person or something like that. But what's the matter with me? They won't touch me, because the thing is with the one who's an affection person, a physical affection person, isn't all the gifts or nice words in the whole world aren't going to have them feeling loved. They're still nice. We all like to hear compliments, but it's not going to like warm them up from the inside out, because that's not their love language. So it's really important for anyone to understand love languages. And I'm saying especially for the self-love deficit crew, because it can really add insult to injury, as they say, because you're going to interpret that as something it isn't, and then reinforce the not feeling valuable, which is just so important to know. So really, the thing is, the best thing is to work really, really hard at filling yourself up as much as you can, filling that wound with all the love you can muster up for yourself, because we cannot give away what we don't have. And I made my note here. Able to fill your own need. Okay, so here's the thing. We've got to be able to fill up our own needs. We got to get good at this, which just is practice. It's like anything else. Anything we practice, we inevitably get good at, right? We've got to work at honing in our own needs to fill those up, become very self-reliant in that way, as far as being our own caregiver, our own best friend, because that is the only way you're gonna stop being so needy, as far and looking to have your needs met externally. And once we get sort of gain that control and bring that back on the inside where it belongs, we, in addition to just feeling more loved, whole, and complete, it's just, there's less anxiety because we have control over our own lives. I mean, it's all good, the whole thing. So work at filling your own self up. And Oprah talks about, right, they saying, oh, I'm filling myself, oh, I'm fulfilling myself. Yes, good. Be full of yourself. Not in an arrogant way, not in a narcissistic way, in an authentic way. Work at filling yourself till your cup runneth over. Then you will stop being needy out here and people pleasing and rescuing and doing all that stuff. And you'll stop looking for love in all the wrong places and in all the wrong ways. Okay, yay. This is Kimberly Quinn signing off from Northern Vermont. Have a mindful day.